We live in an era where existence is defined by presence. If you don't show up on screen, you don't exist. If you don't have accomplishments to display, you're invisible. From the glass skyscrapers of Manhattan to the sleepless algorithms of Silicon Valley, they all teach us one lesson: be greater, accumulate more, and control everything. We fear silence. We fear those quiet Saturdays when the phone doesn't ring and the future seems to stand still. But imagine a completely different kind of power. A power that doesn't come from adding, but from subtracting until only absolute zero remains. There is an ancient code obscured by the dust of rigid religious rituals. It lies not in moral pronouncements, but in a paradoxical and insane event. An entity supposedly the architect of all physical laws chooses to compress itself into a weak biological body, and then allow that body to be crushed by the very system it created. The Greeks called it kinesis. It wasn't simply humility. It was a suicide of the divine ego. Look at what we're doing today. We build strong egos to protect ourselves from the world. But consider the image of a man standing before Pilate's court. On one side is the power of the empire, a power based on fear, armies, and numbers. On the other side is silence. A silence not because there's nothing to say, but because the truth doesn't need to be defended by excuses. That's the first moment of surrender. When you have nothing left to prove, you become the freest person in the room. Most people only pay attention to the cry on the cross or the brilliant light of the resurrection. But the greatest secret lies in the middle, the 3 days spent underground. Mystical theology, this is not a pause. It is a journey into what is called the divine absence. Consider this from the perspective of consciousness. To redeem a broken system, you can't just stand outside and fix it. You have to go into where the system is most broken. Those 3 days were when he descended into Hades, not a fiery hell as depicted, but a state of complete disconnection. It's the realm of the solitude that soldiers returning from battle often feel when they stand among their families, but their souls remain trapped in a dead land. It's the emptiness of a mother who has lost her child, looking into an empty room and finding a space that cannot be filled by any comfort. During those 3 days, God truly experienced death. Not death as a biological concept, but death as the dissolution of identity. Theology calls this the condescension of God. He entered non-being, the realm of non-existence. Why? Because if God were not in death, death would forever remain a boundary that love could not cross. By lying in the tomb, he transformed death from a wall into a door. This is where our reality is turned upside down. We spend our lives running away from the darkness, running away from depression, running away from the graveyard phases of our lives. But the code of these 3 days says, light doesn't destroy darkness from the outside. It learns to sprout from the very heart of that darkness. Look at the scars of history. Why do the most enduring, world-changing movements never begin in palaces? Think of a man sitting in Birmingham prison, writing on the edges of old newspapers. Martin Luther King Jr.'s nonviolence is a form of kenosis. It's the power of accepting beatings without fighting back. Accepting to enter the darkness of prison to expose the decay of an unjust system. When you are willing to lose your life, you possess a kind of power that no gun can touch. Or consider the stillness in the rehabilitation centers of Appalachia. A drug addict only truly begins to revive when they reach the rock bottom. That bottom is the 0 point. That's when all self-deception is stripped away, all layers of control shattered. In 3 days of struggle between life and death, in the desperate yearning of their soul, they meet themselves again. They meet the scarred man in their own abyss. Our modern world is trapped in a prolonged Good Friday, a state of unending suffering. But we are too quick to jump to Sunday. We want instant healing, salvation through medicine or technology. We have forgotten the value of waiting in the tomb. That waiting is not passive. It is a conscious gestation. It's like a seed that must completely rot in the dark earth before its hard shell is broken to allow new life to emerge. Without decay, there is no germination. Without the 3 days of silence, the resurrection is merely a cheap magic show. One of the most shocking yet least discussed details is the state of the body after it emerges from the tomb. Ancient texts describe an entity capable of passing through matter, yet bearing the marks of iron nails and spear thrusts. Why couldn't a god completely heal himself? In America, we are obsessed with perfection. We spend billions of dollars on plastic surgery, on image filters, to hide the ravages of time and pain. We see scars as symbols of failure, of being hurt. But in zero-point logic, scars are symbols of ultimate power. Those scars say, I was there. I tasted your cruelty, and I didn't erase it. I integrated it. This is a profound message for souls burdened by the past. For those who have been abused, those who have failed in their careers, those who bear the scars of betrayal. The story of the 3 days in the grave tells you that resurrection is not about returning to the person you were before being hurt. Resurrection is about becoming a new being in which pain has been transformed into wisdom. Your scars are not proof that you are broken. They are proof that you are indestructible. In quantum physics, there is the concept of entanglement. Once two particles have interacted, they are forever connected regardless of distance. God's retention of human scars within his divinity is a divine quantum entanglement. He is forever connected to human suffering. This means that in the deepest structure of the universe, your vulnerability has been acknowledged and honored. We are entering an age where AI can simulate every answer, every emotion, even the soul. But AI cannot die. It cannot feel the emptiness of 3 days in a grave. It cannot perform kenosis because it has nothing to lose. The difference between a mechanical entity and a soul lies in the capacity for vulnerability. This age's audience craves that more than ever. We're tired of politicians who are always right, of influencers who are always happy. We're searching for a raw truth, a truth that dares to say, I'm in the shadows, and that's okay. The true power of the story of God that we are recounting here is its ability to overthrow all value systems. Do you want power? Learn to serve. Do you want life? Learn to die to your false ego. Do you want to find God? Don't look up at the clouds. Look to where you feel most abandoned. Imagine a quiet Saturday in your life. The day your passion project collapses, the day the person you love most leaves, it's the day of the grave. The world will tell you you've lost. But the mystical reality says you are in your most sacred state. You are at 0 point, and it is at 0 point that all old rules cease to apply. Something entirely new, a big bang of individual consciousness, is about to explode. 3 days in the grave is not a historical event that ended 2,000 years ago. It is a process happening right now in every beat of the human heart. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, you are practicing kenosis. Every time you choose to stand with the weak, despite the risks to yourself, you are entering the grave with them. We don't need a God who solves every problem with a snap of his fingers. We need a God who once held his breath in the darkness with us. And that is the most hidden truth. Heaven is not a distant place to escape from this world. Heaven is the ability to bring the light of resurrection into the very hells we face on earth. Don't fear the silence between the notes. Don't fear the Saturdays of the soul, because without that silence, the music would lose its meaning. And without 3 days in the grave, life would be just a meaningless loop of biological survival. Go out there carrying your scars with pride. Live with the courage of someone who knows that death is not the end, but a transformation of energy. You are part of the greatest revolution in the universe, the revolution of love that self-destructs to be reborn. And in the silence of 0 point, you will hear the whisper of the only remaining truth. You are never alone in the darkness, for it is the darkness itself that the Almighty has chosen to make his home.